hear part of a tutorial in which a student and a tutor discuss endangered languages. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully to the conversation and answer questions 1 to 6.
So, Mark, let's talk about the work you've been doing this week. You've been looking at endangered languages, haven't you?
Yeah, but not just endangered languages. I've also done some research into languages that have already disappeared.
Okay, what have you come up with?
Well, I started by looking at the Celtic languages spoken here in the British Isles, and I found that they're either already extinct or in serious danger of disappearing. For example, Cornish, which used to be spoken in Cornwall, has been extinct since the 19th century. There have been several attempts to revive it, but they've all failed. And a more recent example is the language that was spoken on the Isle of Man, Manx. It died out in the 1940s. So the only Celtic languages still spoken in the British Isles are Welsh, Irish and Scottish Gaelic. But all three are under threat from English.
So will they disappear too one day? What do you think?
It's difficult to say, really. Of the three, Welsh is probably the most likely to survive. My research shows that it's not declining quite as fast as the other two. About 1 person in 5 in Wales speaks Welsh, and it's being promoted in Welsh medium schools, so the number of children who speak it is actually rising. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it made a comeback.
And would you say it's mainly because of the spread of English that most minority languages are dying out?
Well, it depends on the part of the world. In North America, that's certainly the case. In the 19th century, there were more than 300 indigenous languages, but about half have already disappeared and more are dying out all the time. For example, only about 10 old people still speak Achumawi, a language from northeastern California, and that's out of a tribe of 800. The rest all speak English.
What about countries where English isn't widely spoken?
Yes, well, in Brazil, there were over 1,000 languages in the 19th century. That number is down to just 200 now, and they're all under pressure from Portuguese. But I found that it's not always a case of a weaker language being threatened by the spread of a dominant language. There are lots of reasons why languages disappear. A dramatic example is the Trumai language, which was only spoken in one particular village in the Amazon rainforest. In the 1960s, a group of Western explorers passed through this village and, unfortunately, while they were there, they infected the local population with flu. The villagers didn't have any resistance to the virus at all, and all but 10 of them died, so Trumai has completely vanished now.
Yes, that's a good example of how a language can become extinct almost overnight. But to get back to endangered languages, is there any evidence that they can be preserved?
Yes, I think they can. The key seems to be official support. Endangered languages can recover if they've got that. Catalan's a good example. It was given the status of an official regional language in Spain, and it's actually spoken by more people today than in the 1970s, and the number of speakers is rising all the time. Still, of the 6,000 languages in existence at the moment, 3,000 run the risk of disappearing a century from now.
That is the end. You now have half a minute to check your answers.